Good morning, everyone. My name is Julia Wagemann, and I'm incredibly honored and excited to introduce you to track 1 on ramp to Cloud-Native Geospatial this morning. I've been in the Earth observation and geospatial industry for the past 12 years, first working for data providers in Europe, for ESA and ECMWF, and the past years also as a freelancer and more recently with my own training company. But all roles had the same stream in common. I worked supporting users, professionals, and practitioners using data and technologies in the geospatial industry better, faster, and in a way they need to work with the data and technologies. So track 1 is for professionals who are starting out working with Cloud-Native Geospatial. And the next 2 days, we have an exciting program to really get the fundamentals and a nice overview of what it actually means, Cloud-Native Geospatial, what are the different parts, but then also to take it and on to get started working with CNG and going the next steps. So on day 1 today, all the presentations, they set a foundations. So we have this morning talks about Stack, so how we can discover data and access data with Stack. And then in the afternoon, we move on to Cloud-Native Geospatial formats. So we have topics also on, you learn more about cloud-optimized GeoTIFFs, about SAR, cloud-optimized point clouds. And then in the afternoon, we have a 1-hour presentation, how GIS professionals specifically can take up Cloud-Native Geospatial. Tomorrow, on day 2, we take a next step. So from fundamentals, we have 10 presentations more, how you can bring all these different parts together in Cloud-Native Geospatial workflows. And the first in the morning, the first block is on, you will get different tools and ideas on cloud-native innovations along different parts of the geospatial workflow. And then the second, in the last 2 blocks tomorrow, we have a focus more on getting started with Cloud-Native Geospatial workflows. 1 block is more on applications to really see, okay, how does it look like Cloud-Native Geospatial in action, and what are case studies, and how organizations already using Cloud-Native Geospatial. And then the second block on this part is more on solutions. So you will see more technological solutions on how you can use it and what solutions and technologies you can also use to implement your own Cloud-Native Geospatial workflows. And then additionally, also for people getting started, but also maybe if you want to upskill yourself, we also have, in addition to presentations on both days, today and tomorrow, a set of workshops that really help you to get hands-on and practical with all things Cloud-Native Geospatial. So today, there is a workshop on overture maps and specifically focusing on interfacing with Cloud-Native overture data in the CHARS ecosystem. And then tomorrow, it will be a full day. We have 2 full-day workshops, and this probably will be also difficult to actually decide on what workshop to choose. There's 1 workshop on Cloud-Native Geospatial for specifically Earth observation applications and satellite data. And then the other workshop is from the Earth Mover team, and there you have like a deep dive into anything related to SAR, ice chunk, and X-array for Cloud-Native Geospatial data cube analysis. The good thing is that basically all presentations, you don't have to think where to go through. So anything, if you're interested in any presentation in track 1, then you always can go to WOSOC or WOSAC A, and there all our presentations will be there. And then the workshops will be either in ballroom 2 or ballroom 3. But why do we actually dedicate an entire track on capacity building during such a conference like this? And I want to use this track introduction also to spark a bit of a conversation and a discourse on how we can actually tackle geospatial skills development in our industry, and how can we help all together as a community to help people join the community, the Cloud-Native Geospatial, and help them to also take up the skills and the values and the technologies we all work on together. But before I start with giving you my observations from the past years, I would like to do a bit of a pulse check here in this room. And I prepared a Slido, and there are 3 questions, and I ask you to go to slido.com and enter the hashtag CNG. All right, and then there should be one first question. On a scale from 1 to 10, how do you rate your expertise and skills in cloud-native geospatial technologies? So this is actually like, okay, what skill level do we actually have in the room? All right. Okay, the middle wins at the moment, so like you're not quite sure. Probably then you're even more skilled than you actually think. It's also the problem that no one actually wants to say that they are an expert. All right, I give another 5 seconds, but it looks quite full. Okay, it's actually more diverse than I thought, because when I had a look through the speakers list on the conference, I thought like, wow, okay, this is like really expertise and skill in one room. But it's actually good that we have a mix of skills, and also from beginners to experts, and really those also who define the cloud-native geospatial space and technologies. Good. The next question is, on average, how many hours per week do you spend in upskilling yourself? And with upskilling, it's more like how to stay to reading industry news, looking up information, to know, like, just to make sure that you stay up to date with all the developments. All right, so it's, okay, less than 3 hours is still a win, but then followed by 5 hours or more, like a half a day. But we also even quite have a few who say it's more than 10 hours per week. Okay, but it's like, I would say, like the average here in the room, like half a day per week, we spend like looking for information and staying up to date with all the developments. And then the third question is, how do you actually learn new skills and keep up with, here in the room, cloud-native geospatial technologies or any other geospatial technologies? And there is some options. I also offered other, but just to see what is actually the common pathways. Okay, search for information myself. This probably also includes Stack Overflow and GitHub. Okay, then followed by Ask ChatGPT and similar AI tools, social media, and a bit less YouTube videos and training courses. Okay. All right, great. So I think we have a bit of a feeling here in who is actually here in the room and how we also get the skills and expertise we need with all the developments in the cloud-native geospatial space. I will now, on a bit of wider level, share with you 3 observations I made in the past years related to capacity building and training in the geospatial industry. These are mainly my opinions, and please feel free to challenge me if you disagree. And we have enough time the next 2 days also to discuss further. But the first observation is that capacity building and training is not sexy. What I mean with that is that most of us, I would say, or believe, is that we want to work on the cool things. We want to solve problems, we want to work on the challenges, we want to work on the latest technology, and we want to push boundaries, and we want to innovate. But then when it comes to capacity building and training, to actually bring people on board, to help people taking up packages, to take up new standards that are defined, to take up new technologies that are developed, then it is often a bit underrated, and we feel like we think, okay, people will just follow and they will do it and it's all clear. But it's often not a case. And here I just want to say that for all the developments we do, all the boundaries we push, we also need to think about how we can bring people up to speed, build up the expertise and the skill. The second observation I want to share is that geospatial training is fragmented and time-intensive. So if we say, like here, in average 4 hours per week we spend in looking for information, trying to see what's new. If we bring this up to a year, then it's 26 days per year we actually spend in looking for information, upskilling ourselves, and in kind of like self-educated training. We did like a survey among geospatial and Earth observation professionals at the end of last year. And we also asked the same questions, like how much time do you spend in looking for information, and also where do you actually upskill yourself, and how do you learn new skills? It was a bit more detailed, so but you see already here that it's like a wild landscape of options, like including follow social media, watch YouTube videos, subscribe to newsletters, search for information myself, attend free or paid training courses. And this all results that it's like very time intensive. So in average, probably, and this is the same like what we also got from this survey, around 26 days per year we all spend in kind of upskilling or training ourselves in what's going on. And this brings me to my my third and last observation, is that the geospatial workforce, it's a growing challenge on many fronts. And what I want to say is that geospatial competences grow in importance. There is an interest for a lot of verticals and industries to leverage this data and the technologies that there is to really gain data-driven insights and to solve problems and challenges. There has been a publication at the beginning of this year from the World Economic Forum, the Executives Playbook on Earth Observation. And in this playbook, they make a case that one big reason that the Earth observation data is not used in a wider opportunity in different industries and levels is the lack of capacity building. So people don't know the value about Earth observation and how it can be used. And you see the capacity building and training coming up more and more in many different publications. So this is really a key topic. We have to think about how we can also spread all the skills and expertise and the potential and opportunity we have with Earth observation data and geospatial data and bring this to different industries and people who don't know a lot about the value of this data. Another observation we see in the space is also like how what is actually a skill level, or like what skills do we actually need from geospatial professionals? And we see often there is a mix of skills we expect people to have. It's like a bit of data science, software development, ideally now also cloud engineering, DevOps, and together with an understanding of geospatial data and technologies, and what I call geospatial thinking, so also to be able to put things into context and to understand problems. The reality how people or companies hire at the moment, because it's really difficult to find a skill set like this, is either they hire non-geo people. This means they have to bring them up to speed with all things geo. And this often can take 6 months to up to a year to really understand all the data and technologies and all the specific things related to spatial. Or hiring geo people, but then geo people, they have to also learn like software development, data science, etc. And this leads to probably that at the moment there's also a lack of coordinated training options and also skilled certification, because most of the skills professionals learn on the job, but then if they want to advance or ask for a salary raise, then there's not so much option to actually also have a certification or to have a proof that they actually have the skills that enable them to maybe change role or to advance in their career. And the same from the employer side is also that it's often difficult to verify and assess if a person has a specific skill set that would qualify them for a different role or for a salary increase. And yeah, so with these observations, I want to also change the perspective now that with the capacity building and training space, even though it's not sexy, it is a wild landscape of a lot of options, and it is a growing problem. At the same time, I think it is also a growing opportunity. Because as, thank you, Chris, also said that like capacity building is one key or fundamental part to actually also increase the adoption. I also share this perspective that it is a key enabler to expand the CNG community, to bring on more people and also to widen the reach and use of CNG tools. But then in the overall context, because in the overall context, this helps us to increase the use of geospatial and Earth observation data to make better data-driven decisions and to really leverage the data that is available. So as I hand now over to Amy and Brianna, who introduced track 2 and 3, I want to give you some two parting questions for the next 2 days and see this as a growing opportunity. And because I think capacity building and training should no longer be discussed in a separate space, but it's actually part of all the discussions and presentations we will have also in track 2 and track 3. And so for track 2, the discussions, I want to encourage you to put yourself into the shoes of someone who is starting out with Cloud-Native Geospatial. What recommendations would you give them on how can you get started? And so how can we help people to build up the relevant expertise and skills in CNG tools and technologies that ideally, in the next edition of this conference, we even have double the size of the people who actually join the conference and the conversation. And then in relation to Brianna's track on resilience, also integrate the discussion on geospatial workforce development. How can we make this more sustainable and resilient? That it's not only up to all of us individuals of upskilling us and finding the information. How can we coordinate this better? How can we as a community shape also the capacity and training space? And with this, thank you. So if you want to discuss anything related to capacity training, capacity building or training, then please come to me. And then I hand over to Amy now.